Hey, Master Coach G here on Thriving After 50, Mind, Body, Soul. And today I am going to continue our conversation about our emotional health. We need to learn how to recognize our emotions. So let me give you a few emotions that we all feel or have felt. Love, anger, happiness, fear, sadness, rejection, anxiety, joy, envy, gratitude, excitement, pain, abandonment, shame, confusion, guilt, and resentment. That's just to name a few. But during my studies, what I found out is that we experience so many different emotions in our lifetime. Here's the thing. Imagine being a child and experiencing some of these emotions, which we all have. And I'm going to share with you on a personal level my experience, because I think it may be something that may resonate with you as well. Dealing with these emotions, what we do is we carry them into our adulthood. And that's what I'm going to be sharing. I'm going to be sharing some of these emotions that I experienced as a child and how I carried those same emotions into my adulthood without resolving them because I didn't know how. And because we don't heal from those traumas of our emotions as a child, we have to become healed because that causes a problem in our physical body. So today, I am going to focus on 3 of these emotions: rejection, abandonment, and resentment. And all these 3 definitely have a negative effect on our life and our health. Stay tuned for more. Master Coach G. See you on the next level. Hey, Master Coach G here on Thriving After 50, Mind, Body, Soul. And I am continuing our conversation about our emotional health and how it affects our physical health. We have to recognize our emotions. Okay. Now, I know that most of us can recognize some of these emotions, but some of them we don't really pay attention to. So let me give you a list of a few emotions that we all have experienced: love, anger, happiness, fear, sadness, rejection, anxiety, joy, envy, gratitude, excitement, pain, abandonment, shame, confusion, guilt, and resentment. That's just to name a few. Yes, I have done extensive study on this and realized that there are thousands of emotions that we actually feel in a lifetime. That's a lot to deal with. Now, imagine being a child and experiencing some of these emotions, not knowing how to deal with them. So what happens is we carry these emotions into our adulthood, not becoming healed. That is where the problem lies. It causes a problem in our physical health. But there's 3 of these emotions that I want to focus on today. Just 3 of them: rejection, abandonment, and resentment. And all of these 3 can definitely have a negative effect on a person's life and their health. Rejection causes a range of emotions, including hurt feelings, loneliness, sadness, anger, and embarrassment. Abandonment can lead to feelings of shame, guilt, powerlessness, poor self-worth. People who have abandonment issues may also feel the fear and rejection of isolation, and that can create difficulties in our relationships. And I'm going to share more about that as well. Some causes of abandonment may include the physical and emotional neglect or even abuse. Resentment can cause a person to feel edgy and touchy when thinking about a person that they resent. And I'm telling you that from real life experience. And I'm going to share a lot of that information with you because I want you to understand how these things affect your emotions. It even can cause us to deny the anger or the hatred toward them. Resentment can also provoke us when that person is recognized. So let's say that we resent somebody, but other people are like putting them on a pedestal. So they're recognizing them in a positive way, and then that is a trigger for us, because that resentment causes us to feel a certain way. And it just creates, just unresolved conflict in us. So we have to be able to recognize that. Okay, so today I have no script. I'm shooting straight from the hip. I'm going to share my personal experience with rejection, abandonment, and resentment, and how it affected my life. Personally, maybe somebody can relate to this. So my issues with rejection, abandonment, and resentment was, I really want to focus on my relationship with my mom, because I didn't grow up with my mom. My grandparents raised me, which caused me to have this feeling of rejection for years. I felt like my mother never wanted me. I felt like she never cared about me. I felt abandoned. Even though I knew that my grandparents loved me very much, I still felt abandoned. With that feeling of rejection and abandonment came resentment. Very, 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 and add 1,000 more varies to that. Strong feelings of the emotion of the rejection and the abandonment, which caused me to have resentment my whole entire life toward my mother. I had a lot of anger, sadness, a lot of anxiety. I was confused because I didn't understand why she didn't want me. That rejection and abandonment and resentment caused me to have a lot of anger and bitterness for 95% of my life toward my mom. And honestly, to be real, I just didn't like her. I loved her because she was my mother. I loved her because she gave birth to me. But I didn't like the fact that she didn't want me. I did not like that. I didn't like the fact that I always felt rejected by her. I didn't like the fact that I felt that she abandoned me. That resentment was so powerful. That was such a powerful emotion. I couldn't be in the same room with her without having that feeling of resentment coming up. It was so big, it just consumed me. That emotion pretty much took over my life. The emotion of resentment took over my whole entire life. It was difficult living with the resentment because of the rejection and the abandonment that I felt. And the day that my mother's health started failing, I had to come and take care of her. Now that was really something, to actually have to come in and deal with the resentment, because first of all, I didn't even know that the rejection and the abandonment was what was causing the resentment. I was not aware of that. I'm talking about my health was seriously affected by that. For years, I couldn't sleep. I wasn't eating properly. I just wasn't taking care of myself. All because of these feelings of the rejection and the abandonment and the resentment. I didn't recognize that's what it was. I was not aware, which goes back to my 3 A's. I was not aware that that's what it was. All I knew was that I had such a strong feeling that it had just pretty much taken over my life. And I was always upset. Don't misunderstand me. Yes, I am still currently here taking care of my mother. Very pleasant. I take really good care of her. I'm nice, but that resentment was affecting me. I'm talking about because I was not aware that I felt rejected and abandoned. I would say to people, yeah, my mom gave birth to me, but I called her an incubator. Yes, I call my mother an incubator because she carried me in her womb for 9 months and she gave birth to me. Then she put me in an incubator to grow up, which was with my grandparents. That's how I felt. Not having the awareness and recognizing that the emotion of feeling rejected and abandoned, and not knowing how to deal with it. See, that's the problem. We don't know how to deal with those emotions because we're not even aware that we have those emotions. So I didn't even go through a healing process at that time. However, I had to become aware of that emotion, those emotions, and I had to deal with those emotions. The emotion of feeling rejected and abandoned. Because I was not aware and it was consuming my life. It was hard. I'm gonna just be honest. It was hard because the thing is that the resentment wouldn't go away, regardless of how nice I was. I still had the resentment. The resentment was still there, and that is an emotion that I suffered with, and it started to affect my health for years. I was carrying it around like a bag on the inside of me. So that's where the 3A's came in. And when I tell you that it's only been recently that I discovered this, I remember I was standing at the kitchen sink one day and I was washing dishes, and God spoke to me and he said, you have got to release and you have got to heal from these feelings of resentment because it is affecting your life. So I had to put into play the 3A's, the awareness, the accountability, and the adjustments. I had to do all three of those things. I had to become aware of the emotions of rejection and abandonment, which led to me being aware of the resentment. I had to be accountable for my own emotions and what I felt. Then I had to make the adjustments. Once I became aware, I had to make the adjustments. Those three things, the awareness, the accountability, and adjustment, is what really changed my life. It started the healing process for me to be able to deal with the emotions of the rejection, the abandonment, and the resentment. So I urge you to take accountability and make the necessary adjustments, because if you don't, you will continue to live with in that emotional state, and that is not a good place. When I was growing up, I always felt like, because I call this the middle child syndrome. It was me, my brother who was older than I was, and then it was my cousin who was younger than I was. So I was like the middle child, and I call that the middle child syndrome. My brother and my cousin always got treated different than me. They got treated better. I was always the one that got treated, overlooked, never got encouraged. I was just the one that was just pretty much that was just there. My brother was the smart one, my cousin was the funny one, and then it was just me. And I felt like I had no place, like I didn't know where I belonged. And my brother and I had a conversation a few weeks back, and he pointed out to me that he was aware, or he recently became aware of the way that I was treated as a child, and recognized that it wasn't fair. But let me tell you one of the things that it affected most in my life. Here's what it affected the most in my life. Because I felt that I was mistreated because of the resentment that I had, and because of the rejection that I felt and the abandonment that I felt. That was a feeling that I just could not shake. It was like, it was a feeling that it's like, why do I have to live with this? Why do I have to live with this? Not realizing that I had to be healed from that. But here's the thing. Here's one of the biggest things that it affected in my life. I have one daughter. That's it. I have one daughter. I made a conscious decision in my life that I was only going to have one child. The reason why I made that conscious decision is because I did not trust myself that I would not treat someone else the same way that I was treated. I couldn't even trust myself because those feelings were so overwhelming. I made a conscious decision that I was only going to give birth to one child because I knew that I could love one child unconditionally. I knew that I could give that one child all of me. I knew that I could give that one child the love and the care and be responsible for the way I treated her. If I had had more than one child, I don't know if I could have done that. So you see how those feelings affected me having children. My daughter has no siblings at all because I made a conscious decision from my emotional state, which was the rejection and the abandonment and the resentment. I did not want anyone else to feel what I felt. It was horrible. It was horrible. But when I applied the 3 A's, the awareness, the accountability, and the adjustments to my life, when I applied those things, that's when the healing process started. Now the resentment is gone. But I had to become aware of what the root cause of the resentment was. The root cause of the resentment was feeling rejected by my mom. The root cause of the of my issue of the resentment was feeling abandoned by my mom. And that process of healing has changed my life. Now I can say that I don't have the resentment. I have nothing but love and concern and care for her. No more feelings of rejection, no more feelings of abandonment, no more feelings of resentment. But do you know how long I carried that around? I carried that around for the last 60 plus years of feeling rejected and abandoned by my mom. That was a horrible feeling. Horrible. But I thank God that He gave me the tools to be able to get past that feeling and start the healing process. So now I am still healing, but I can tell you one thing, the love that I have, so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. So if you feel any sort of rejection, abandonment, or resentment toward anyone, it may not be your mother, it could be your father, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, it doesn't matter. Whoever you feel rejected or abandoned or resentment from, I urge you to apply the 3 A's. The awareness is key. The awareness is key. And then you got to take accountability for how you feel and get to the root of it. And then you got to make your adjustments. Those adjustments that you make will be life-changing because you will start the healing process. That's what I have for you today. I hope this episode has added value to your life. Thank you for joining me here on Thriving After 50. If this podcast has been a benefit to you, please subscribe, follow, share it with someone who may be dealing with rejection, abandonment, or resentment. Share it with them so they can start the healing process. And I want to thank you for listening. And I want to give a shout out to all my listeners. I got listeners in Canada and Belgium and Russia and Mexico. I want to thank you all for listening. And of course, here in the United States, thank you all for joining me. And remember, knowledge applied is power. This is Master Coach G, and I'll see you on the next level.